Well, China's premier is warning against a, quote, new Cold War at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Indonesia, saying that countries need to, quote, appropriately handle differences and disputes. His warning coming ahead of the G20 summit in India this weekend, where he is set to attend in place of Chinese leader Xi Jinping. President Biden traveling to New Delhi, India for the summit, that's going to be later today. The president will be leaving Washington. Joining me now is president of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts. Kevin, talk about this summit. Xi Jinping not coming. We've had multiple Biden administration officials that have gone to Beijing. Is the U.S., is President Biden being snubbed by Xi Jinping not appearing this weekend, or is there something more happening here?
No, you're spot on, Cheryl. This is yet another example of two things. The first is that the Chinese Communist Party and its leader, Xi Jinping, is playing warfare, cold warfare, at a level that our president and vice president and administration are incapable of playing. But the second aspect of this, to your point, is that Biden's fecklessness as it relates to the Chinese Communist Party betrays the reality that a growing percentage of Americans knows, and that is we are in a Cold War with China, and his comments, his absence at this summit, all point to that direction.
It's interesting. Well, China's reportedly planning to expand a ban on the use of iPhones to state firms and agencies. So according to the Wall Street Journal, Beijing was already ordering central government agency officials not to use their iPhones for work or bring them into the office. So shares of Apple actually slid on the news yesterday, closing down nearly 3.6%. In the pre-market, we're looking at the stock right now, and it's actually down again almost 3%. Kevin, is this another way that China is taking aim at the United States by taking aim at an American company, especially one as large and prominent in this country as Apple?
Yes, and it's actually an excellent example, Cheryl, of the kind of asymmetrical warfare that the Chinese play. You know, the United States, if you look at the history of when we have gone to war, how we conducted the Cold War with the Soviet Union, we always look at warfare one-dimensionally or two-dimensionally, which is to overwhelm the other side in the short amount of time with just superior force. The Chinese, because of their culture, play the long game. That's the aspect of the Chinese Communist Party strategy that most Americans, and unfortunately, a lot of American policymakers simply don't understand. This example with Apple, because it is one of the leading consumer products for all of us. I just bought a couple of iPhones for my teenagers. They're expensive. But what the Chinese are saying is they want no part of the potential security breaches in an iPhone. They're very happy, not just for regular Americans, but for American policymakers who use them for business to potentially be vulnerable to those security breaches. This is why their stock is down this morning, no doubt.
Interesting. Kevin, Kelly McGee-White's on set with me. She's got a question for you.
Kevin, I want to switch gears really quick and ask you about a recent speech that former Vice President Mike Pence made, where he was claiming that the Republican Party needs to move on and ditch populism, populism from Donald Trump's campaign specifically. And he seemed to suggest that it is at odds with a true conservative platform. What do you think about that?
I disagree. All of us at Heritage do. I love Mike Pence. We're genuinely personal friends, and I admire the heck out of him. But even Mike Pence, who's a great man, is vulnerable to what I like to call the false dichotomy in Washington, D.C. It's an either-or proposition, which is false. I won't go all academic on you here, Kaylee, but you know that I have a tendency to do that as an early American historian. There's a wonderful book by Wilmore Kendall, The Conservative Affirmation, which needs to be rejuvenated in its understanding by regular Americans, which clearly shows that what the vice president was calling populism is merely common sense. You know, I grew up on the Gulf Coast in a working class family, and ultimately what Vice President Pence doesn't understand, as it's revealed in that speech, is that what he calls populism is just American people, ordinary Americans saying, we've had enough of self-appointed elites claiming power for themselves, calling it something that sounds good, and then telling us that it's actually good for us. So I reject the notion in its entirety.
Well, I want to stay with this thought here for a second, because Mike Pence also has come at him and critical of his fellow Republican candidates, saying that they're all moving too far away from conservatism. At the same time, foreign policy ended up taking front stage at the last debate on Fox News, the first GOP presidential debate, especially between Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Mike Pence did weigh in there. So foreign policy, you know, we've got another debate coming up here on Fox Business. What do you want to hear when it comes to foreign policy in this next go-round for the candidates?
I want to hear more about what at the Heritage Foundation we call the new third way in national security, which is that we're neither going to be involved in the adventurous interventionism that neoconservatives want us to do, multi-trillion-dollar wars of choice. We have no business engaging in, no republic, no conservative should ever say that. Dwight Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan would remind us of that. Nor do we want to see a similar impulse on the opposite side of the spectrum toward isolationism. What Heritage is saying is America isn't as strong as it was in 1983. And what we want to see in that conversation at the next debate is for Republican presidential candidates to talk like they're living in the 2020s. That is to say, understanding the limitations of American power and to understand that our famous phrase, peace through strength, can only be achieved if we first deal with problems at home and then are much more careful, much more restrained about where we exercise American power. Otherwise, we're going to be fighting the last war and we're going to lose it.
Kevin Roberts from Heritage, it's always good to see you. Thank you for that.